everyone, it's Tasha Daniels here, two-time Olympian and Olympic bronze medalist, and you are listening or watching another episode of Global Sports Channel's Sports Personality Spotlight. And today I have a British sprint kayaker on the show. Her name is Jessica Walker. Jessica, welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you?
Hi.
So Jessica, you were a sprint kayaker. Tell me about the actual event itself, because I mean, you may think that everyone knows what that is, but what is kayaking?
So lots of people confuse it with rowing, but we go
Ah,
forwards and they go backwards.
right.
And it's so people also associate it with canoeing. So canoeing is when you kneel in the boat and have one paddle, whereas kayaking is you're sitting down and then you have two sides of the blade and
Right.
you are this, like this.
Right. She's waving her hands for those of you listening.
Don't do it like that though.
Right. So is it an expensive sport? Because whenever I think of anything in the water with equipment like that, it sounds pretty expensive.
I think it probably is. So to have a boat, so we call it a K1, so one person in a kayak,
Right.
is probably about £3,000 just for the boat itself.
Wow.
And then for your paddles, it's probably good £300. So
Right.
I'd say,
It
yeah.
could get up there. Now with the something like that is, because with runners we've got to change our shoes every so often. You can't wear the same shoes your entire career. How, like, what's the rotation or of
So
your equipment? Do you have to keep changing it? How regularly do you have to change it?
um so there'll be different models. So hopefully your paddles should last quite a while. You probably tend to have a spare pair as well. Change them every 1.5 years, and then your boat.
Okay.
Um, there's new models that come out as well.
Right,
So
right.
every 4 years a new model comes out.
Right. Okay. So not too bad. So what about your upbringing? Because you didn't actually start there. You started with swimming, you started with running. Tell us about your history in the sport itself.
I started paddling when I was 10, and I did lots of other sports, but I just really loved paddling and I liked being out on the water. And there's different types of events. So there's marathon events and
Right.
um, sprint, which is what I was better at. And then you can also do K1, which is on your own, or K2 or K4, which is if it's K2, then it's two people, K4 is four people. Um, and there's just lots of variety in it. It's good fun.
Right. So you actually said in an interview that you did not like swimming, and everyone kind of assumes that if you're in water, you like swimming. Is that true?
I like being in water, but I'm not very good at swimming. I
Right.
just think I can run, but I'm not very good at swimming.
Right, right. So, what was your beginning career like? What was it like as a junior working your way up? Because at some point it goes from having fun to more professional, more intense events, more serious competitions. What was that journey from paddling for fun at 10 to, going to the Olympics to winning world championship medals?
I think I was quite lucky. I was exposed to Olympic champions from quite a young age at my club because a
Right.
lot of them trained there. Um, and so I could see what they were doing and I could see how it was achievable. And then when I was 15, I went to the Youth Olympics. So they do that, the European Youth Olympics I went to. So I got a little taste of what the Olympics was like. And then when I was 16, I made it onto the junior GB team. So that was pretty exciting. And then somehow progressed pretty quickly and ended up qualifying for the Olympics when I was 17. So it all went quite quickly at that point. And I probably didn't expect that.
Right. Where was your mindset at that time? Were you just sort of going through the motions? When did it shift from sort of not expecting that to like, this is what I need to be doing?
It's when I won the Junior Europeans when I was 17, and a coach said to me, "Well, your times are looking really good. You could probably qualify for the Olympics next year." And I thought, "Oh, okay. Well, I could try, and if I don't, then it's not the end of the world. Um, and it'd be a great experience to give it a go." So I had it in mind as a big goal, and then I still had another year left as a junior, so I focused on winning those events more than the Olympics. So when it did happen, it was just a bonus.
Right. When you made that change, when you had that, your coach telling you that and having that confidence in you, and now your mind shifting, well, okay, this could be something that I could do. Did anything change for you, maybe in your mindset or the way that you trained?
My training program definitely was upped at that point. I was training with who I went to the Olympics with in the end, Anna Hemmings, and so I had a full-on training program with a Hungarian coach. So it was pretty intense. So 2 to 3 sessions a day. Um, so I progressed quite quickly and got strong. At that age, it's great fun because you get strong so quickly and you see your times get better and better and you get fitter. And
Right.
then after that, obviously, you see smaller progress after that.
So, in comparison to what you were doing before, was that quite a big leap? You said you were doing 3 to 4 sessions a day. What was it like before that?
I think by the time I was 16, I was doing nearly 2 sessions a day every day, well, 6 days a week. And then when I started training with a Hungarian coach in when I was 17, it was twice a day, 6 days a week. And then it went up to 2 or 3 times in my
Right,
last year as a junior when I was 18. Just slow, but I'd say two
right,
twice a day is still pretty tough.
right, right. So now, like you said, it's an added bonus and you get to experience that bonus. How did that affect you at that point where you're like, okay, I'm going after gold? Because I know there were certain points in my career where I was like, right, that's it. I'm going after Olympic gold, and everything changed from there. Was that your experience? What was it like for you when you did have that bonus of going to games?
I knew that Beijing was going to be a great stepping stone for London 2012 because
Yeah,
London 2012 was announced when I was at the Youth Olympics in
right.
2015, which is really exciting because we were there as Team GB
Wow.
and it was announced that it was going to be in London, which is really exciting. So probably then I had my eyes set on an Olympic medal. And then going to Beijing, I thought this is a great opportunity to learn. And then when I go to London, it won't be all the things the excitement's still going to be there, but you'll be used to it and you'll know what to expect.
Right.
And so I had my eye set on winning a medal in London, definitely. And our women's team at the time was really focused on that.
Right. Now, what was your training coach like? And did you carry the same coach throughout your career? How, tell us about the coaching journey because it's a very important relationship for any athlete.
Yeah, it's very important. The coach I had from the age of 16 to 21 was a very good coach, and we were very lucky to have him. He was very experienced. He'd made lots of world champions, and he was great at bringing a group of women together, which is a challenge when you put 4 women in a boat together. It's hard work, and he
Right.
was he was great for that.
Is that
Um,
the figurative and literal boat?
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's communication's hard,
Right,
and when you got 4 very different people, and all really want to do well, and they're tired from all the training, and
right,
it's hard work. So he was very good at that. And I've had various coaches throughout my career, because our system, they might have thought one coach was better in this place, and so it's always changing.
right,
So that's always been a bit of a struggle to not have much consistency there, and I think that probably played a part in why our results weren't quite as good once we got to Rio.
Right.
I would have hoped that our results had got better from London into Rio, but we definitely learned from it.
Right. Do you have any control over the coaches as athletes? You know, like you said, you if you'd had consistent coaching in the lead up to Rio, things may have been different. Do you guys get any say in that?
You're made to probably feel like you don't have a say in it, but I think ultimately you do because you're the one that has to perform.
Right.
Um, the the coach needs to be appropriately qualified for that role. So not only appropriately qualified, but also the right person for the role. So if you felt that that person wasn't right, um, you could change to a different coach. But it's political. It's difficult to
Right.
to to navigate that one. Yeah, it's difficult.
Right. Right. So, like you said, with having to, work with four other women, your coach was great at that. Do you have a separate coach for the team and a separate coach for yourself, and how do they all gel? How does that balance? Or once you start getting into the ranks where you're part of Team GB, that you sort of steer away from your personal coach and then move into a group? How's that all work?
Yeah, so they have a coach just for the women's team, and they will coach all the different crew boats. So if it's K1 on your own, or K2 or K4, they'd have the same coach, preferably for all of those boats. But it hasn't always happened like that. But I think it's preferable that you would.
Right.
And most countries do it differently. Everyone has different ways of doing it.
Right. What do you see as some of the, you know, challenges when it comes to the coach athlete relationship, and what have been some of the really great benefits, things that you've learned from being in a coaching situation that now maybe even you can use in your everyday life outside of sports?
Oh, I think that's a good question, and probably takes quite a lot of reflecting. Um, I'd say that to have a lot of trust in them,
Right.
and you need to give a part of you to somebody, like your thoughts and feelings that you wouldn't give to someone on
Right.
the street, or
Right.
necessarily someone in a normal job. They wouldn't um,
Yeah.
get to see your fears of and stuff around how you might feel about a race, or how what's going on, whether you're on your period or something like
Yeah.
that. That they get to hear all of that, and they need to work with you and you as a whole person, which is an interesting dynamic for sure.
Right. I think that is one of the things that people find difficult is realizing that the home person does come in, does overlap into the athlete. How did you manage that? How did because you get out there, maybe you've had a bad day. I remember, when my husband was coaching me, it's like, I just saw you in your underwear. I don't want to hear anything you have to say right now. How do you balance between what's going on in your life and sports and being part of a team and everything that comes with you as a person and that line where there's you as an athlete, all that merging?
Oh gosh, that's so difficult. There's definitely learning boundaries, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I would say I've had some big lessons in sport learning what those boundaries are. It's a difficult one. And to try and have a life outside of the sport is really important to find balance. And the coach doesn't need to know about your life outside.
Right.
Um, and you don't need to know about their life. You can share, what you were doing on the weekend, or um, things that are nice to share. So you need to find that balance and have those boundaries. I think they're important.
Right.
Um, yeah, balance and
Right.
learning. It takes a while to learn that. Took me years to get that right, I'd say.
Right. Where do you think, or what did you do to create balance and to, have and create a life outside of sport that, helped you stay sane and balanced and even when it came to
Mm.
you as a person, not just as an athlete?
Well, I decided to not be based where the rest of the team were based. Originally, I was when I was younger, and all of us
Mm,
women trained together. But then they moved our program up into Nottingham, and I decided to stay down in London. And I think that was a good thing for me. It meant that I could do my own training program, as I was an older athlete at this point,
right,
a bit more experienced, and just made sure I was in those times that I have off that I was with my friends outside the sport, um, and you can just enjoy your time when you're training more, to separate them and not really
right,
talk about training with your friends. Just enjoy the time when you're with them. And yeah, it's hard when you're training 2 to 3 times a day, 6 days a week. It's really difficult not to merge them.
right,
But I found that important to separate them. And I think it's great for younger athletes to all be training together in that environment if it's healthy.
yeah,
But I think for myself to be out of it was probably better. And I know a lot of athletes do experience that throughout their career.
right, right,
It's a bit of a debate, isn't it? What's better for the
right.
athletes? Yeah.
I think it's an interesting point because obviously we're all people, like fingerprints, we're all different. So some, like for you, it was better to be away. For others, they need to be around everything. So it's good
Yeah.
that you knew and understood yourself enough to know that you needed that space and you needed to kind of get away. How did you approach the mental side? Um, I don't know how much people think about the mental side of kayaking, or you hear it a lot in golf, you hear it a lot in sprinting, like you see the athletes jumping up and down before the race, like, oh, he's getting himself pumped up. What was your way of mentally preparing for training or mentally preparing for race, and then not just preparing, like how do you shut down from all that? How do you shut down from ramping yourself up for a big event and get yourself ready and then turning off so that you can sort of get on with life as well?
There's so much to that, and I had to learn so many things about myself. I definitely changed from an 18-year-old to a 28-year-old, and how I approached racing. When I was 18, I was a bit more but happy-go-lucky and thinking, oh, I'll just wing it. I'll be fine. And I probably didn't warm up properly. I just somehow would get away with it. And then as I got older, I started to realize that those races that you didn't do so well, they actually become a problem, and they sit in your head and you remember the bad races. And it was definitely a process